Welcome to the Motoring Podcast. It's a live question and answer session on Thursday, the 23rd of April, 2026. Hello, I'm Alan.
Hello, I'm Andrew. So, Alan, what is this live Q&A session that you have just announced?
I don't know. I am slightly terrified. Yeah, well, the idea is you decided, that really we should do one of these because for the last... You suggested that wouldn't it be nice for people to actually tell us what they want us to talk about for a change instead of us just deciding what we were going to talk about. So here we are, everyone.
And some of you have wonderfully sent us in some questions as well. So that's very helpful. Otherwise, this was going to be a lot of filling.
There was, yes. I have had this fear all day, by the way, that it's going to be like one of those, those telethon videos of those two old guys trying to sit around trying to fill time for however long until somebody calls in to pledge some money. Fingers crossed it's not. But we do have we have a bunch of questions. If you have questions, those of you who are watching along at home, then do put them into the chat. You should be able to do that, and they will appear on screen for us. Well, we tested it, and they appeared on screen for us.
We tested it.
Yours appear on screen for us, or not? It's a different matter. Let's see how we go.
Should
we start with the first question?
Yeah, I'll read out the first question, and you take the first stab at this.
Hang on. We've not... Wait, there's an important step in these live streams that we haven't done. That we have to do. And that, everyone, why not tell us where you're listening from? Put it in the comments.
Oh, I thought you were going to do the by the way, if you are listening to this as an audio podcast later, please be aware.
Yes, that don't bother with it.
This is the live raw feed. There is no editing of content that typically happens to the weekly news show. So there is a slight change in what you're going to hear. Yes.
And maybe the way it comes through.
Yeah.
I'm terrified by the lack of editing that's going to go on behind this. Should we get started with the first question then?
Yeah,
Stop waffling.
I will ask you the first question, and you can take the first stab at this. And it is, how concerned are you for the future of Jaguar following and by the way, we are quoting the questions verbatim at the moment, and that is the plan until we ever get to a question where we don't think we can. But following the disastrous rebrand, the complete halt of car production, and the move to an all-electric future. So, Alan, what do you think? How concerned are you for the future of Jaguar?
It goes... could we have started with an easier one? How concerned am I for the future of Jaguar? I'm quite concerned for the future of Jaguar, to be honest. I think, at least for the short and medium term, I'm a little bit concerned. I think my concern ebbs off after a while because there's more time to try and put stuff right. I don't necessarily... Where do I go with this? It's the complete halt of car production, I think, scares me more than anything else. I understand kind of the idea that was going on, the whole idea of moving Jaguar upmarket to Bentley and whatever, because previous attempts to move Jaguar to be a direct competitor to BMW, Audi, Mercedes hadn't necessarily worked. The thing is that it didn't not work because of the product itself. It didn't really work because of the perception of the mark. No, and the big challenge with what the big reason it didn't work was because basically everybody looks at the product and goes, well, it's lovely and everything, but the reliability is so awful.
Yeah, but the product wasn't as good as the Germans.
But
when the British press returned to these things,
I don't think the full
6 months to 12 months down the line, the perception of the product changed a little bit. The reporting on it was like, well, yeah, it's not quite up there with Audi, up there with BMW, up there, in terms of the material finishes and the layout and that sort of stuff.
I'm having trouble with the counter argument for that, to be perfectly frank. I think
because we are guilty in this country, aren't we? We are guilty of it. If Jag comes out with something, we're also hopeful. We're also positive. We know what an enormous employer it is as well, and all of us want it to do well. So we're possibly caught up in the moment, and it's like this is really good. This is going to do it. This is going to take on the Germans, etc., etc. And then when you've had a chance to breathe and a bit of time and separate from the emotion, then it's like, it's close, but it's not quite there. And it's not, say, on design
I think maybe
and stuff like that. It's just the product as from the user's perspective.
But that doesn't require an entire clean slate. That doesn't need an entire clean slate. I don't think that moving up market to combat Bentley and stuff at Bentley prices is actually the right way to go either. So, I mean, in all fairness, the strategists have been stuck between a rock and a hard place. But I think trying to have a company which hasn't succeeded against Mercedes, BMW, Audi, and then trying to go, well, it's definitely going to succeed against Bentley. I think that's a crazy idea.
That's very hopeful.
It is
very optimistic.
Yes, that's probably fairer than a crazy idea. But that's the challenge. I think that, but I don't know. I would have preferred that they had just improved and actually invested in the products they had, and made them better, had better generations of those that were reliable, that came in at a good monthly, so the residuals were higher and focused on all that. And I think that there's a point, I mean, being made in the comments here, which is great, which is pointing out that the biggest issue is probably in the Ingenium engines and stuff, and that's, I can see that goes straight in with the whole reliability and the complete product. I mean, some aspects were fantastic. I always thought they looked good. They always handled well, but the ownership proposition, I think, wasn't there. And I think that maybe they should have worked on that rather than fancy branding of dealerships, rather than trying to wipe the slate clean and all of that, to do what they were doing right, rather than try and do something harder from a position of public perception.
I can also see stepping away from the it's a Jag, it's a certain aged gentleman who buys a Jag type thing, because that is a small market. I could see them trying to do that. However, I feel, well, for me to answer this question is how concerned I am. My gut feeling is very, but it goes across the whole width and depth of the company. I mean, I was sitting. This is a proper question, and I've given it some proper thought today, because I felt it needed it.
He's written notes, by the way, which is more than I've done.
I have written notes to try and just get my thoughts in order, and I'm going to read bits from here. The way that they went around the launch of the new identity felt very chaotic. There was no lead up to it, and it felt like it was shock for shock value. Now, I can sort of understand that when they are trying to rebrand and reinvent the brand, that you want to make a big splash. However, there was nothing to back that up. It was just, here's an advert. It's not like they said they had, go, and here are a bunch of cars of what we're going to launch. There was this sort of one vehicle that was a concept. And I don't think that that helped. And I think that the reaction, and I'm moving like the Gammon reaction to one side, and we just ignore that. There was people who, because it's the internet, the loons came out and they went, loony. But I think even the company realized that they'd misstepped because they fired the agency that organized that, and they got rid of their creative director eventually. Decided to move on to pastures new. However, they have managed to couch it to themselves. Anyway, he's had a massive payoff to go off and set up his own consultancy. And it was all baffling to those of us who knew, follow cars and Jaguar. It just felt baffling. In their latest marketing, they are at least acknowledging they have a heritage. They are at least acknowledging that they have got cars in history, because to not do so is even more baffling, because they've got a whole wing of their business which is about paying lots of money to have their older cars done up to a fantastic specification which brings money into the company. So to then go, oh, these never existed, just nuts, absolutely nuts.
That was absolutely bat poo.
Yeah,
I just that whole all of this history doesn't matter.
Yeah. I still don't know who this car is going to be for. I cannot understand who the car is aimed at, and because all we know is price. We don't know who the target market is. It's just price. And as you said, quite rightly, their reputation from the JLR stable on reliability and quality is not up there. I am worried they cannot make a minimum 100K car that is what people will expect. And people might go, oh, but what about Range Rovers and all the rest of it? Just this week, I was stuck behind a brand new Range Rover and the tailgate wasn't even on straight. In 2026, is ridiculous.
Joe Otway in the comments is pointing out they're perfect 3-year lease cars. Wave it goodbye before it all goes wrong. And he had an XE, an XF, and an F-Pace, and said they were all superb for 3 years. So, yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. No, I can see that. Right, on top of everything else.
So in summary...
No, there's more,
okay,
because...
No, not finished yet. All right.
This is why I'm saying there's width and breadth. On top of everything else, they're going EV only at a time when the US has just gone, we hate EVs.
But at the time, hang on, just remember that at the time of making that decision, then everyone was going all in on EVs, and this is how everyone's being caught.
However, if you just look at Europe, the 100K plus EVs have all had problems, and they are not selling in the quantities that everybody expected. On top of that, how is Jaguar supposed to go into China, the third major market that they will be targeting, and go, yeah, come to us, when today it was announced that Western marques are at the lowest percentage they have been in the Chinese market for well over a decade. It's more closer to decades because of the local competition. Bearing in mind they're coming in with this fresh product with no... seemingly trying to ignore heritage and all the rest of it. What have they got to offer? It is effectively like we're a new startup.
Yeah,
but we're
and that's the thing. Is that that's what the European. Yeah, that's what the European brands had coming into China. Was always, well, you're not just buying a car, of course, and it might not have all of the snazzy stuff that maybe you expect from a Chinese brand, but it's got the heritage.
Mm.
And I think people forget how much heritage sells. It's the reason people come to Britain on holiday, for goodness sakes. I've seen the busloads of tourists outside Buckingham Palace at 8 o'clock in the morning, all taking pictures. You know, a lot of them aren't coming here for cool Britannia. They're coming here to see the old stuff. They're going to see that. Then by lunchtime, there'll be Anne Hathaway's cottage in Stratford upon Avon. It's all of that kind of stuff.
Well, top of that, which is on top of everything else.
Oh, no, we don't.
Not quite. I really still haven't finished because
this is the stuff that normally gets edited. Everyone is
we
going,
need to understand how
much
the company completely needs to fundamentally change or have a grip on what they're doing. So we've got that there's a new board in place. Well, there's a new CEO, and there's already a new. They've had to get a new CISO. They've appointed someone as a strategist, again from Tata. So they are the new boss is restructuring the board in what he wants it to be. We don't know what their strategy is. At the minute, it is carry on as it was, but that's going to change over time because they're not the people who thought this up in the first place. And we still don't know what that is. So are they still going all in on this? And then, because you look at recent issues the company's had, the consolidation of the logistics hub. In theory, on paper, that was a brilliant idea. It absolutely was so ham-fistedly done that it's caused a massive backlog in repairing vehicles. They've had the hack, which again brings into question decisions made at high levels, who they're working with, that sort of thing. And then you sit there with it. They've got continued supply chain issues. We were only talking about that a week or so ago because of it feels like the whole car industry has not learnt from the chip issue, but also when the Ukraine war came and consolidating everything into single suppliers. And it's so frustrating. It is so frustrating because we know people working in there, and these are very good people who are very good at their jobs. There's something happens between them and the senior level that means it doesn't come out with the product it should. And that's all that wrapped up together. I think there is just so many big issues. I am really concerned. But what do I think will actually happen? Is it will get launched, they'll limp along, and we'll be talking about them like this in another 5 years, 10 years.
Hopefully not, though.
I'd love it to be the case.
Okay. See who's the positive one here. Do we want to take do we want to move on? Okay. And B, do we want to take a short one, or do you want to take a short, lightweight one before?
Do you want to take the one in the comments? Let's start.
I was going to take the yes, I've now lost which one. Do you want the first one, or the second one? Let's start.
Hang on, there's more than one. Oh,
let's take the first one.
Yes, go to the first one. Yes, go to the first one. Sorry, I missed that.
I've actually been doing things whilst you've been talking, by the way.
Yeah, well.
And next time we're not going to take questions in advance because somebody overthinks them.
It's your own fault. You asked the question.
Next one. Yes, I know. Yeah. Blame yourselves, folks. So question from Wama here. How do you guys choose what to leave in, what to leave out every week? Since it's a podcast about current things, we can't have much of a backlog either. Should we start with that last bit? Do you remember 10 years ago, we started a list of things we'll talk about when we don't have anything to cover?
Yes.
How many of those topics have we ever used? I think we used one.
I think you're right.
Used once because it was topical.
Yeah, I think you're right. We do have actually... We do have a few items that are backlogs that generally is new car news, because we tend to only cover 3 a week. And sometimes there's like this week coming, there's at least 6 cars that have been announced during the last week. So we'll pick and choose from that. How do we select? We generally look at we've got a good feel now for how long an episode would generally run. So we know roughly the number of articles to put in that we go, okay, that will be a quick one. That one we're really going to go to town on. We know we're going to go deep on that one because we've got opinions, or we're cross, or we're delighted, whichever it is. And it's...
I'll show you what's hiding in the background, is that we do have like a list of, there's a sneak preview of what might be in next week's show already. And then we do have this list of stuff now. Okay, so it is quite long, but many of these really, it's one of these times we'll actually sit down and empty it out.
Yeah.
But we do generally have a sort of list of stuff that we can pick from, and then that gets put into an order. And it's really making sure there's the right balance of stories.
Don't want too many angry ones.
The right number of stories.
Honestly.
Yeah, it literally comes down to that. And then it comes down to a Tesla one, like, is that actually important enough? Is it relevant, or is it just some more wittering?
Yeah.
So yeah, that kind of thing.
Yeah,
that's kind of how it goes. We've got all our devices set up so that, or certainly I have, so that if I find an interesting story, then I just ping the link straight into Trello.
Yeah.
And then we fight with Trello, which we didn't for a decade, but we do now.
Yes. Right, should we move on to
just quickly about setting the live up for a change? Could I quickly cover that? Quickly mention this one again. Very well prepared and executed. To be perfectly honest, we use this really awesome platform called StreamYard. It's one of the things that the money from patrons goes to. It's a paid service. We're grandfathered in, so we pay only a fraction of what it would cost if we signed up now. But it's super. We are discovering how easy it makes this stuff.
It is designed especially for this sort of thing, for live streaming.
Yeah.
It's brilliant. Love it.
We only use a fraction.
Double thumbs up if anyone is looking
basis.
for a video, to like conferencing, video calling type thing. Absolutely recommend this.
And we've got a affiliate link that we can share if you want, so you get money off. Sorry, this isn't sponsored at all, by the way.
No.
I'm telling you this because it's really good.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay, shall we move on to the next one that was planned? Now, I think whilst you were talking, I think I've made a banner. I have.
Oh, wow, look at you.
I know.
We're all learning something tonight,
this
everyone.
Is literally on the fly. Yeah. So, under the obvious threat of the Chinese car makers, which indigenous manufacturers will not survive? And actually, David, when he wrote this, he went on and said, will we keep Nissan with all their travails and the problems of Brexit? Well, I think we covered that part in this week's news show, because actually David got this question in before Tuesday night. And he said he's thinking about the DS via Alfa Romeo, possibly many others. I don't know.
Well, there's an article next week that's sort of tied to this. Yeah, but I won't talk about that just yet. I can definitely see at least one going. I can see more, but mainly because the head of the group company doesn't know what to do with them, has not got a clear plan for them. Also, let's not forget, when we're in the UK, we have got it is a very narrow focus, because what we see as successful in the UK is not always what's successful in Europe or abroad. So we'd have to bear that in mind as well, because something that doesn't do well over here, there are car companies that do well in Europe, stuff like that. So we just need to just bear that a little bit in mind. For me,
yeah, I mean, Lancia remains a niche product. For example, to take an actual example of that, but it sells very well in Italy. It's so close to other models, it doesn't really matter.
Well, with the Stellantis,
I think Stellantis are going to have to clean up.
They do so much. Here's the same platform. change a few body panels. I know we talked about this a couple of weeks ago. The new designer, the new head of the design for Stellantis has said, no, each of these brands need to be individual. But if it had been probably 18 months ago, I would have said Seat, but they've done so well for VW that they can't afford to get rid of them.
And Cupra seems to have found itself a niche. I think that they actually are more relevant than Audi these days.
Yeah. Well, I think Alpha's worries me. I don't want that to go. I don't want any of these to go. Alpha, Lancia, DS,
Vauxhall.
Well, I totally agree with what you've said for years.
Vauxhall's biggest problem is its model names.
Just call it Opel. Just call it Opel. Have done with it. Forget the Vauxhall nonsense.
Call it Opel. Yeah, move on from the Corsa and Astra names as well, because they have such an immediate mental kind of link for so many people, and
There's
it's not always good.
Yeah.
And I don't think it reflects. And I don't think it reflects the products right now either.
No. I think it's a drag factor.
I really do. I've said that for years. And I think I'll probably end up saying it for years, but maybe not that many more years. But yeah, move on from model names, get rid of Vauxhall. Yeah, somebody's saying Vauxhall will be off. Thanks, Joe. Yeah.
But in terms of running as a business, Nissan are in trouble. Stellantis are in trouble. Ford is in trouble. Ford Europe is in big trouble.
Now, Ford Europe, I can see, and we slightly talked about that this week, is I can see Ford Europe really deciding, you know what, we're just going to be commercial vehicles. And really not caring about passenger cars. I mean, I saw today they released pictures of an Explorer van version. I know. It looked like it was ready for a
spring van. It's like the spring van. Is you just go, well, you're trying to exploit a loophole and desperately trying to use this platform to do something else, and it's not suited for it.
But
it's not designed for it initially.
No. You're right, it isn't designed for it because, of course, it's an ID4. But I can see them wanting to sell that into fleet buyers. And that's where it goes. Ford is going to become a commercial fleet vehicle. Seems a shame. The Ford particularly seems a shame.
There's plenty of car companies out there that are struggling. VW Group as well. We've talked about that many times. So something's going to come to a head.
Mm-hmm. And I really feel it's those and you'll notice it's pretty much all those kind of mid-market form of volume brands that we've been talking about. Yeah. And I think it's where people just want a car. Then those are the ones that are at risk from the Chinese brands. I think.
Well, Ford got rid of
people have
if you just need an car, you would have a Focus or a Fiesta, and they've got rid of those two.
We've discussed the specialness. We've discussed the specialness of Ford product planning before. They don't seem to have any, and it is a bit of a challenge for them.
Should we have the second start question?
Should we have the second start? Yes. So,
thank you, first time caller.
Yes. Biggest automotive heartbreak other than my RX-8. Andrew, do you want to go first with this one?
Heartbreak.
I know.
I
assume you mean I'm going to ask a follow-up. I seem to. I'm not sure. Is this? I'm
presuming it's our own vehicle,
but don't like, or is it owned vehicles? Because there's different answers to each of those. Are you still thinking about this one? Because if it includes cars we have driven and we have tried and driven and been really excited about as press cars, and then hated with a passion, or just been so disappointed by, then I'm going to say the Honda Civic Type R, where I've tried two of them and I've disliked both.
Yeah.
And before the first one, I really, really wanted it. I was so excited by it, and then I was so disappointed because I just found it so harsh and so difficult, and I didn't like the attention it attracted. And I found myself in the wrong lane at one point, and nobody would let me out. Yeah,
that is
really weird.
The car that we have the biggest difference in opinions on. That we've tried. I
don't even want to try another one.
No, I know. I get that. I get it because I do believe that there are even now that there are cars that you just get on with, and there are cars you just don't, and there's no obvious quantifiable reason. It's just it just doesn't gel. And in that one, you obviously had extra reasons on top of it, but I really do feel it. Because like my dad has got he's got a couple of brands where he's always really got on with them, and then he's gone with a rival brand that's apparently at the same level, hated the car with a passion, and was delighted when it got written off.
It's flipped. My dad's a big BMW buyer, has been for many, many years, doesn't really get on with current Mercedes for the last 20 years. It doesn't really like them at all. No particular reason. I mean, he's owned a couple, but still doesn't really like them. Yours is far more pro Mercedes than mine.
Yeah. But equally, my dad doesn't like BMWs. So, different sides of the same coin. Different sides of the same coin. For me, exactly. What has been my biggest disappointment? Probably the Volvo EX40 electric.
Oh, yeah, that's true. I'd forgotten about that. Yeah.
Now, I have to say, caveats to this, it was January. It wasn't freezing cold, but it was cold, it was wet, it was miserable, because on top of the shockingly bad efficiency and the fact that it lit the front tyres up every time I pulled away from a junction, no matter how gentle I was, everything I tried to do, and I know I can be heavy right-footed, but I was really, really, really trying, and it just lit up the front wheels every time I pulled away from a junction. And, I concluded that review with, I cannot recommend this car unless you have a home charger. Yeah. To sit in it was lovely. I thought it looked great. This was before they'd gone too deep in with Google, so the interface was okay. It was easy enough to navigate. Generally, the materials and the finish were lovely, and everything. It's just the ownership side of it was grim for me because I didn't have a home charger, and I'm glad I didn't, because I wouldn't have known that. And the other side was just it was like I was getting 1 point something miles. That's just not good enough. What about owned wise? Is there anything outside the RX-8 for you?
The Panda 100 horsepower that replaced it. It was obviously it was a snap decision.
Daniel will not like you.
No. The thing was, it's wonderful. The Panda 100 horsepower is great. Really is really good. But not for the mileages I was doing at the time, not for the type of driving I was doing at the time.
It's the wrong car at the wrong time and the wrong job. Yeah, I get that.
Yeah, and it's, when you've gone from the sort of smooth, relaxed, sitting downness, then of the RX-8, then it's very difficult to go to then the very upright, very stiff Panda. And I was scared I was shaking it and me to bits, which is why it didn't last very long, and it got replaced by an MX-5. But really, I still really like the 100 horsepower, but I just couldn't. I was scared I was going to break it, and me.
Yeah.
Do you want to move to one of the other ones that's just appeared in here?
Owning. I think I'll have to go with probably the worst car I've owned.
Focus.
Yeah, that was probably the most surprisingly, because I had a Mark 1 2-litre Z-Tech, I think it was, Focus, 5-door, in the classic dark blue.
You hated it.
And it was, at best, meh. And you read the reviews of these things, and you would think it was the best thing since sliced bread. Oh my word! I mean, during the time it came out, I drove the equivalent Astra, and that is the car that I hated the most because it put me in pain every time I drove it through my back and my knee. I hated that car so much, and I had to do a lot of thousands of miles in it.
But remember, I think your problem with the Focus. I think your problem with the Focus was that you didn't want to have to buy it because the Volvo you had and loved got written off.
Yeah. I mean, that didn't help.
As a result, you never liked the Focus.
But I was expecting it at least to be fun and better than it was. It was just meh. But that goes to show how poor cars were at that time. That was markedly better than anything else.
Yeah, I suppose so. I don't know. Should we? I've just started another one in the comments. Let's answer that one because I think it's quite a good one before we move on to the one of the other two that's already that's saved. How did we become friends, and how did the podcast come about?
Friends?
Do you want me to tell this one?
What's this friend stuff?
I know. Who says we're friends?
Yeah, you tell us.
What happened was we were both on Twitter at the time.
Do you remember that, everyone?
Do you remember? Yeah, do you remember that? That was when it was still a really good, fun place to be. I don't know what it's like now. I deleted all my accounts, which is a sad, sad day after many, many years. I always joke that we were politely disagreeing with each other. We disagreed over technology in cars. We disagreed over what we liked. But
we weren't a-holes about it with each other.
But we weren't a-holes about it, yeah. And we both independently commented that we would really like a podcast about car news. And nobody did it.
Selfish they are. Everyone out there was selfish.
And I had this URL, you see. And so we said, well, let's do it. And so let's do it. Let's have a quick Skype call. God, it was so long ago. Let's have a quick Skype call.
Was good.
Just to make sure when Skype was good, just to make sure neither of us had some terrible speech impediment or anything like that, because we'd not met.
Yeah, we have to remember we had not met each other at this time. We had not actually seen each other's faces until we got on this Skype call.
Yeah, because some Captain Security there, never shown his face in photos on social media, and so we said, okay, let's do 3 of them. Let's do one where we just talk about ourselves and our backgrounds and what cars we've owned and stuff. And that's still episode 0. If you can find that, you can find it on motoringpodcast.com. It's far too old to go through onto any of the streaming services, I think.
And I'm very sorry about the sound quality.
Oh, it's awful. When you listen
but you had
back,
to start somewhere.
Yeah. So we did 3, working on the basis that if they were crap, we would never release them. And we would never tell anyone we'd done it, but we would know that we'd tried.
Yeah.
And that was like the first thing, was we'd know that we tried. And we thought, well, maybe we'll do a few. Maybe someone else will cotton on and take over from us. And 11 years later, nobody has, which shows what a stupid idea it is to do a podcast, which is expired by the time you release it every week. Nothing has any, other than special editions, there's no sort of longevity in it. So you never get the great big listener numbers. It's a ridiculous thing to do, but we didn't know that. We'd never done it before. All we'd ever done is listen to podcasts.
Mm-hmm.
So we did it. We started it. We found that those three were, I don't know, you just released the bloody things. We found that they were adequate. So we put them out there, and it took us so long to learn some of the fundamentals. They were good enough, yeah. And if you go back now, the sound quality
Well, I'm
sucks.
hoping you can see a difference or hear a difference.
Well, I hope. Yeah. I listened to last week's. Yeah, you can. And that was it, really. Pretty much every week since, because we're masochists.
Yeah, because only the truly insane do a weekly podcast without any breaks, or very few breaks.
Yeah. Don't do that.
Do seasons or series. Do those if you are thinking about a podcast.
Yeah, don't do stuff that expires before you've released it. What else? I was going to talk about COVID in there as well, actually. And, there wasn't that much news during COVID, but we kept on doing it for our own sanity. And then some of you guys got in touch with us and said, thanks for keeping on doing this. It keeps us sane as well. It keeps us sane because it gives us a point that we're used to every week. And that was kind of when we realized it probably mattered a wee bit.
Yeah. There's things like you see certain people on social media commenting they've listened to us, depending on what organization, which individual, and stuff like that. And that's because we don't know who is listening. We get overall numbers, but with audio podcasts, it's not like other internet stuff where we can basically see where you live, what you do, who it is, what device you're on. We don't get that so much that detail. We get general information, which is one of the reasons we to be honest, audio as well.
We could sneakily get that, but I don't go to. We don't go to the point of doing that.
No,
that actually leads quite nicely into the last of the questions that's in the list. Hang on, I'm just going to make a banner with it. Oh God, it's far too long. But
would you like me to read this one out? I
need to do my copy and pasting.
Okay,
you can. Yeah, you go on. You read this one out whilst I try and copy and paste a précis.
Okay, thank you again for the questions that you've all sent in and you're sending in on the chat. That is much appreciated. So this was sent in. When Angus Deaton got sacked for Have I Got News for You for taking cocaine and paying sex workers, the show started using guest presenters. Now, I'm not suggesting that either of you are up to the same thing when one of you is absent, brackets, although I'm not ruling it out either, close brackets. But have you considered using a guest presenter to join the one who isn't snuggled up with a bag of Colombia's finest and a couple of hookers? Very good question. Long time.
I precede it.
Long-time listeners will know we have had guest presenters in the past. We have had people come and help out with the news show. And that's what this question is about, because our output of special editions hasn't been as consistent as we would like over the last few years for various reasons, mainly outside of our control and nothing to do with the podcast. Recently, a lot of the solo episodes have been with very limited warning from either of us. So we're not in a position that we can go, hello, person who has said that they were happy to help us out in the past. You've got 30 minutes. Are you ready? Because that feels very harsh, helping when you're asking someone a favor.
It's an imposition at short notice.
We feel it's an imposition, full
as Andrew
stop.
said, for reasons out with our personal. We do feel it's an imposition, full stop. Because
the guest
presenters it's not as if we make anything off this, and
are also trying to hit how we deliver and follow what we do. So it's not like we're just going to have a conversation. They are trying to replicate what Alan or I do and bounce off each other and do in the order of stories and all that sort of stuff.
When we've done hundreds of them.
Many hundreds.
And so it's a lot of pressure. Yeah. And so it's a lot of, one of the reasons we don't for the news show is because it's a lot of pressure, and it's a lot of imposition on anyone we ask. And we don't feel that that's fair.
Yeah,
the flip side,
that's
we
it.
also know we don't enjoy doing the solos. Neither of us enjoys doing the solo. And if we have to go, I'm really sorry, I can't do it. So Tuesday coming, I will not be somewhere that I can record podcast. So Muggins is going to have to do a solo show, and as a result, he's going to have to move his day around and stuff like that to accommodate that, to make up for the fact that you have to have read every story. Whereas sometimes we can if we're in a rush and we're really busy, we maybe haven't both read all the stories, and
not to the same detail, no.
Not to the same level of detail. We've always scan read them, and I'm the lazier one of us. Okay, be aware of that. But I can scan read really quite quickly, and so I can normally pick stuff up and go where I've not necessarily read more than a couple of paragraphs of the story. Sometimes, I'm really giving it all away here, and yeah. Whereas Andrew
That's how
likes
good my editing is that no one notices on.
Also, the fact is that he edits it really well. Whereas if I'm doing a solo, you can tell if I've done the audio editing. There is a marked difference, partly because somebody's done hundreds of them, and I've done a few tens, and I get bored.
I don't think the difference is as big as it used to be. I really don't.
But between the editing, I think that's the quality of the initial recording is a lot to do with that.
Yeah, and the software we use now. I mean, the software that's come on in the last decade, it is astonishing how it can help us.
Yeah. I mean, we both started out with GarageBand because it was free.
Yeah.
And now we're a bit more and we've got nicer mics and little mixing things at both ends and stuff. So
we've learned by our mistakes.
That makes a difference. Oh yeah, plenty of them.
Yeah. So the short answer is we don't feel it's fair generally, but if we've got lots of notice, we might approach some of the people that we know have been prepared previously to help us out. But thank you for the question.
Yeah, good one. Last one from the ones before, which I have now just gone and moved away from the banners page. See, it's not completely seamless. One of the more serious ones. I mean, the short answers. So the question. So I've got to read them out because there's an audio version too. Tesla has staged a remarkable comeback with the Model Y in Europe, taken in conjunction with the Netherlands-approved FSD supervised. Is there any hope for mankind? No.
Now, we need to put that Model Y in Europe in context because last month, the Model Y was the best-selling EV in Europe, making a astonishing comeback after many, many months of Tesla sales being dramatically lower than they have been for some unknown reason.
Yes, I can't imagine what that was. I can only imagine this was fleet dumping on some level, which only leads me to believe it's people who hadn't had a fleet of Tesla in the past, because pretty much everyone has been stung by that, by the fact that you add them to your fleet and then they don't get repaired when things go wrong, and also the residuals plummet like a stone because the prices keep changing.
Well, they have been astonishing. They have been doing that a lot. So I think it's down to that the offers are so astonishingly good that people go, yeah, well, my morals don't matter now because I can get this thing for so much less. Because people.
Yeah. And I think that's just about where it sits.
Yeah. With as far as the full self-driving and things like that, I am increasingly asking the question: how much more evidence do people need? It seems there needs to be much more. I don't know what else needs to be shown. It goes with the autonomous vehicles, it goes with connected cars, it goes with privacy, it goes with all these things that I'm going, but well, like with the Stellantis thing that we released today, Stellantis has done a partnership with Microsoft and saying, AI is going to do all these great things for us. How much more evidence do you need to start going, actually, the promises are not there? The technology is not there for what we are told or what we are promised it will do. And you question, and I'm talking about consumer AI here at this moment in time, and I'm talking about...
I'm not prepared to comment on that.
No, you shouldn't. That's why I'm saying it. I know that, well, you look at certain autonomous vehicle companies and the promises they're making, and if the people reporting on them actually understood the technology, they'd go, well, your claims are absolutely bogus and nonsense. Clearly nonsense, but that's where we are today.
So there was a whole thread from Ed Niedermeyer today on Blue Sky. I think some of it's a carryover from the Tesla earnings call that took place last night when I was tucked up in my bed. And there were various promises and comments being made about, it's definitely coming in this next version of hardware. And basically every sold Model 3, Model Y, S, whatever, it doesn't have that version of the hardware. So it simply can't run on it. And if you've owned that and you've been paying for that, then I don't know. So 6 months, maybe 9, I guess, is probably the answer. So
Ka-ching.
Yeah. I mean, it's. I don't know. I obviously think the Y looks like a stuffed dolphin, but what do I know? There we go.
No, I don't.
Wait a minute. I think is that us?
I think
if so, we've timed that remarkably well in a way that we don't normally manage with a normal podcast. Anyone at home, any last questions? Anybody's tapping away at madly? We'll play for time for a second or two, if you do. But yeah, thank you everyone who sent in questions beforehand. Thank you everyone who has attended, who's been putting questions and comments and feedback in the chat as we've been going along. I've really enjoyed it. It's been a slightly new challenge, but it's been a lot of fun. And thank you for taking time out of your evening to join
absolutely.
us. Hopefully, those of you who are listening to the podcast version of this enjoy it. We would like to do this again at some point. We might well do it again. We'll try and give you some preview and everything, so that we can do the same kind of thing again. But yeah, anything else from you, Andrew?
No, just a bit of feedback. What did you think? Did you enjoy it? Is there anything you'd like to hear us try in the future? Because we're open to ideas. I mean, this is going to come out as an audio podcast tomorrow. It's obviously going to be on YouTube just immediately, but it come out, and this is going to be the first of a few more special editions. We've got some recorded. I've got at least one I'm working on editing, and we've got an awful lot to record, which is all down to me. Sorry about that, everybody. Which we will do. So
it's not
there
just
will be
down to you. I you know.
Yeah, but I've got to write the notes, and then I've got to go. Let's record.
Oh well, yeah, that's true.
However, so there will be more special editions coming out, but we would, as Alan said, we would love to slot this sort of thing, which is less pressure on us in terms of when.
Is it really?
No, but it is, because we can just dig into the questions, and also, thank you for having some real fun questions in here, as well as serious questions that deserve some proper attention. So that it was a great mix. You guys have really done yourself proud there, and thank you for that, because it's made this first attempt much easier than we feared it might be.
Yeah.
Mrs. Trellis from North
we were
Wales
worried we
did
might
not
have to invent
appear.
questions. Exactly. Yeah, we were worried we were going to have to invent some questions and pretend, but thankfully not. However, don't forget, everyone, between now and next week, you can give us any feedback, share your thoughts for the show at motoringpodcast.com on Blue Sky, at Motoring Podcast on Instagram and Facebook, and on the contact page of www.motoringpodcast.com, the hub of all our activities. Remember, you can support us financially via Patreon, and please leave a review and rating on Apple Podcasts, YouTube, or however your podcast app lets you do such a thing. Andrew, what's the best way to get in touch with you?
You can get in touch with me via Blue Sky if you search for Crack Windscreen. Or failing that, if you prefer LinkedIn, I am on there under my full name. And Alan, if people would like to get in touch with you personally, what is the best way for them to do that?
Best one for me is always Blue Sky, where I'm at AJP Bradley, that's BRADLEY, at bsky.social. And you can also get in touch with me on LinkedIn if that is your bag. We'll be back very soon. Until then, I've been Al Bradley.
I've been Andrew Clues.
And safe motoring.